Good evening. Good evening. People lead different lives. And some people reach a certain stage in their life when they are stationary. They don't move. They're living a life of status quo. And at different ages, this can happen to different people. Someone who's really alive doesn't stop growing. That's why when you ask someone how old you are, so are you old? Are you young? The answer is it depends if you're alive or you're not. If you're a person who's stationary, and I don't mean necessarily sitting in one place, a couch potato, but I mean in your mind, you're stationary. You're happy the way you were last year and the year before. You're just on automatic, and you get up, you go to work, you go to sleep, you get up, you eat, you go to sleep, day off, day on, summer, winter, and your mind doesn't grow, your feelings don't change, you're in a status of status quo. I tell some of my students, I have 20-somethings or 19-year-olds, and I say to them sometimes, you're older than me. Because, why are you older than me? What are you older than me? He's only 19. And I'm more than twice or three times that age. I'm about 3 times that age. So he tells me, I tell him, I'm younger than you. This is why. He says, you woke up in the morning, you're not motivated, you're doing nothing with your life. You don't want to study, you don't want to learn. What do you want? You don't know what you want. You're just on your smartphone, same as yesterday and the day before. So you're old. That's an old person. An old person is someone who decided, this is the way I am, this is what I am, and nothing changed. But living organisms, the nature of a living organism that it grows, it doesn't stay the same. Living organisms reproduce, they grow, they live, they die. There's movement, there's action. And that is the most basic and simple living organism. Certainly a human being, his life is because there's movement, there's action. And this is reflected also biologically when Hashem made us heartbeat. And heart beats, the pulse beats. Because there's action, there's circulation of the blood. It's not that the blood stays in the same place forever. There are certain living organisms that don't have so much circulation. They have something there and that's it. But the human being, the blood doesn't stay in one place. The heart is beating a minute ago is not the next minute. That's because Hashem made us in a way that we shouldn't just stay there like a vegetable. When someone is not moving and not growing and not thinking, we say he's a vegetable. Don't be a vegetable. A vegetable grows, has roots, is in one place. A vegetable can't move. Vegetation can't move. But a person has to move. Even an animal moves. But he moves by instinct, and a human being has seichel, he should have more. And a yid should move also spiritually. So that's what this is about. To make this movement and what reflects this, Hashem made us in a way that there's a struggle. There's a struggle. And this is what makes Tanya so attractive and people interested, because most of us have a struggle. And that struggle is what makes action in us. And that action we try to understand. So it's not just growth within ourselves because we're growing, but there's a pro and a con within ourselves, and we're trying to understand that. And that's what we're up to in the 9th chapter, Perek Tes of Tanya. And he starts on a verse, a pasuk in the Torah, which describes the birth of Yaakov and Esav, the twins. Yaakov and Esav would go in different directions. And they're told, the prophet tells their mother Rivka, when she's pregnant, and she can't understand what's going on in her womb, because when she passes a house of study, the womb seems to be moving towards the house of study. And when she passes a house of idolatry, the womb is moving. And she can't figure out what's going on in her. Is this some crazy baby that she has in her? She knew it's a special baby because she is married to Yitzchak, and this is the second generation of the Avos, and the future of the Jewish people will be born from her womb. And she thinks she has one baby, and the baby is schizophrenic because he's spiritually schizophrenic, because he is attracted to idolatry and he's attracted to study. So what kind of meshugana is this? And the prophet tells her that there are two nations in her womb, and they're going in different directions, Yaakov and Esav. And one will always struggle with the other, and one will overpower the other. And when one will rise, the other will fall. When the other will rise, then the other would fall. Thank you. And this is also our struggle. It says in the Torah about the original model of the struggle is between Yaakov and Esav, between spirituality and materialism, between idealism and selfishness, between low life and noblemen. That's the struggle. And that struggle, why? It's easy to cheer. Let's cheer for one side, because we're cheering for the cowboy in the white hat, for the good guys. See, today people are cheering. I'm just not sure who the good guy is, but people are screaming on one side and screaming on the other side. So it's easy to choose. It gets more complicated because we ourselves are complex. And this, what the prophet, the Navi, told Rivka, one nation will be battling with the other nation, is within us. Because there are two nations in us, two personalities in us. The godly soul and animal soul, Nefesh Elokis, and the Nefesh Bahamis. And we started in this chapter about how each one has their personality, and how one is more centered in the brain. The godly soul is more in the brain, the animal soul is more instinct and in the heart. And now we're going to put them on both sides and let the best man win the battle, the struggle. So he explains, Ki haguf nikra ir ktana. The body, our sages called a small city. It's a small city. It's like a small city. No, it's a small city, seems to be an insignificant city. It just happens to be that two kings are fighting over this city. Which king will control the city? And this is based on a verse in Koheles by King Solomon. And King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, says, Ir ktana v'anoshim bo ma'at. He describes how there's a small city with few people, ubo eleh melech godel, and a great king is coming towards the city. He wants to capture the city. He wants to take over the city. He wants the control of that city. Now in that city, there's a man who's poor, but he's very intelligent. And he is the one who saves the city. Umalat eso'ir. He saves the city. And the message that King Solomon wants to bring in Keheles is wisdom versus power. And wisdom is going to win over power. It's not the musclehead who's going to win. It's the one who's smarter that's going to win. I remember the Rebbe spoke about this years ago, and he spoke about actually in military power. Military power. So in earlier times, the one who had a bigger army, numbers, won the war. That was decisive. Quantity was decisive. The Rebbe said today quality is decisive. How did World War II end? One bomb. Actually two. Hundreds of thousands of troops, I don't know the exact number, were still fighting in Asia. The United States against the Japanese. Thousands upon thousands were killed fighting from island to island. And it was a battle, planes, ships, bombs, etc. And the President Truman saw this is not going to end very soon, and it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of more lives. And he says, you know what? Enough with fighting with quantity. America has numbers. Japanese have numbers. Eventually the American numbers is going to be more than Japanese, so we're going to win. But how much is that going to cost? So he says, you know, we're playing a different war game. Quality versus quantity. And that is also a question we have to ask ourselves. Are we going with what is power, what looks big physically, or we're going with, like in the story of Keheles, in the illustration of Keheles, it's the poor man, because he's not as wealthy as the king, but he's smart. So he saves his city from the powerful king. And the Gemara says that this illustration that King Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon said about a king and a small city and a wise person, the Gemara says this is also an illustration of our inner battle. The small city is the body. It's our body. And the animal, the Yetzer Hara, the animal instincts is the king. It's powerful. Our animal instincts is much more powerful than our conscience. But our conscience is wise. And we have to know and have confidence that our Yetzer Tov, or our conscience, or our godly soul, in the words of Tanya, it's not make as much noise as our animal instincts. It doesn't make as much. We don't feel so intimidated by our physicality, like the message of wisdom coming from our godly soul. But in the end, if we put our effort to it, wisdom is stronger than power, and the godly soul is stronger than the animal soul. It's like two kings who are fighting over a city. And concerning the Alter Rebbe and Tanya is now applying it to our inner struggle. The positions are there. There's a godly soul and animal soul. They're like two kings fighting over a city. So you have to imagine that our body is like a city, which is a battle coming from out two sides. The godly soul is a powerful king with qualitative advantage. The animal soul has quantitative advantage. And each one wants total control of the city. When one king is fighting the other king over a city, they want total control. They don't want to share the city. One king wants to be that city. And what's interesting over here is that it's called by Shlomo HaMelech and by the Gemara that this represents the body as a small city. Why is the body a small city? And you can ask another question. If it's such a small city, why are two kings fighting over the city? It's a small city. It's described Ir Ktana, a small city. So even though it's a small city, Anashim Bo Ma'at, there's few people, and yet two kings are fighting over it. Why are they fighting? There must be some strategic advantage and significance to that small city. And that's why they're going to war over a city. Even though it's small. And similarly, one could think, what's the body? The body is just flesh and blood. It's born, it lives, and it dies. The body is such a small thing. And there's a big world out there. And especially if we're talking in spiritual sense, the malachim, the heavens, the angels, and the souls. There's the godly soul, there's the intellectual soul. They are the souls, the vitality. Like I say often when I'm talking to you, I'm looking at your nose, I'm looking in the eyes. Why am I looking at you in the eyes? Because I see life, I see intelligence. So I'm not talking to your physicality. I'm talking to your soul. I'm talking to your nefesh, because that has senses, and that's the person. Who are you? You are the nefesh. And we're saying there's an animal soul, or the natural soul, and the godly soul. So that's what we're talking to each other. It's souls talking to souls. Neshamas talking to neshamas. And what's the body? The neshamas over here are fighting over the body. Flesh and blood. It's a small city. It's a small city. That's why the Gemara says, what is this small city? It's the body. The body is a small city. Does it really make a difference what's going on in the body? The body's a flesh and blood. If it lives and it dies. The godly soul, oh, that's big stuff. It's part of Hashem. And even the animal soul, its vitality. Intellectual soul, certainly the intellectual soul and the animal soul goes together. Because there's what makes the human being human being. It's not the godly soul, it's still. But the body seems to be it's just a sack of meat and blood. That's all it is. So it's a small city. And yet, the fight is over this small city. The fight, the war, the battle, life, history is over what's going to happen with our body. Hashem created the world, and He's interested in one thing, our bodies. In fact, He says later in Tanya, the chosenness of the Jewish people. When Hashem had to make a choice, it was not about the souls. The souls are close to Him. Of course, He chooses the neshamas of the Jewish neshama. That was not a choice. He didn't have to have bechira for that. When we say He chose, He had to choose between two things that are equal. It's about the body. The body is, the whole creation was over what's going to be with your body. That's what the whole creation was about. What's going to be with your body. And the whole Torah mitzvahs is about our body. Whole Torah mitzvahs is, what are you doing with your body? Not what you're doing with your soul. With your body, what are you saying? The words you're saying with your mouth. Are they kind words? Are they insulting words? It's what you're doing with your body. What are you doing with your hands? Are you pushing people? Are you bringing people closer? What are you doing with your feet? Where are you going? You're going to make trouble? Or you're going to visit the sick? Console the mourners? Where are you going? You're going to shul? What are you doing with your feet? The whole Torah mitzvahs, Hashem gave Torah mitzvahs. What do you do to Torah mitzvahs? Torah mitzvahs of 630 mitzvahs deal with the body. And this is what the difference between our religion and other religions. The Buddhists, they hide in caves or separated in monasteries. The Christian monasteries, they're separating themselves. What is someone that's holy who's not dealing with his body? And Judaism says, Torah mitzvahs is about the body. What's going on in the kitchen? Is it kosher, is it not kosher? It's about food, eating. What are you eating? What's going on in the bedroom? Mikvah. What's going on in your office? Is your money kosher? Are you cheating in the business? Are you giving tzedakah? What's going on in the farm? The produce. What you have to leave in the fields for the poor. How much you have to give to the Kohen, how much you have to give to the Levi. And the other philosophers of other religions say, why is God so interested in what's going on in the kitchen and the bedroom? He should be interested in the angels and what's going on in the mind or the feelings. And there's very little talk in the Torah about feelings. There's feelings, of course. You have to love Hashem. You have to love your fellow. But most of the mitzvahs is about the kitchen, the bedroom, the office, and the farm. It's about physical, about eating, sleeping, marrying, farming, making money, watching your property, watching your bull, watching your dog, watching your animals. They shouldn't go loose and cause harm. Because it's the physical world. That's why they're fighting over the body. It's a small city, but it has strategic value. Just like in Koheles, it's the king is coming to the city because it has strategic value. It's a small city. The body seems to be just insignificant, live and die, gone. But to Hashem, it's very important. And the center of the world is the human being. And it all revives us. And in us, the center of our existence is our body. So what are you doing with your body? And that is the battle. And each one wants full control. So each king wants to take over the body. Similarly, in the battle of our conscience, the animal soul wants to take full control and the godly soul wants to take full control. Sha'alikisi starts with the godly soul. The soul wants to take complete control, to rule, control, and to lead. So the soul wants to control the body. And all the limbs, every part of our body, should follow the soul. Like the king who wants full control. A king doesn't want to have half of control. Government has full control, right? The government is controlling our lives, controlling our banks, watching how much we're taking out, how much we're not taking out. There's full control, but government has full control of us. So too, the soul wants to have full control over the body. So let's understand this. It's easier to understand the way it works with the animal or natural soul than the way it works with the godly soul. Because most of us hardly experience full control through our godly soul. But many of us sometimes experience full control by animal soul. You see, sometimes we say lose control. What are we losing control? You're losing control, right? I'm losing control, right? Don't get insulted. Most of the day, we're losing control to our cell phones. Cell phones. We're losing control to our cell phones. We lose control. Just checking again. Nothing happened. When they were judging Kavanaugh, okay, what's going to be? Yes or no? We want to know. But elections, what's going to be? Is it going to be a turnaround or not going to be a turnaround? Okay. But we're still looking every 10 minutes. There's nothing going on. We still have to check our phone. Did anything going on? They were calling me. We're losing control of ourselves because of our habits. Some people lose control in worse ways, in more dangerous ways. We're losing control because of pleasure. We're losing control because we want to have pleasure. You see, the body, our animal instincts, better said, the fight is over the body, but our animal instincts, our animal drives, have no conscience. An animal has no conscience. An animal has no sense of right and wrong. It's an animal. So if I would have let's say a horse or a bull on Brighton Beach Avenue, on Ocean Parkway, and I tell him, okay, go for a block down, 2-3 blocks. But remember, I don't own any of the vegetable stands, right? And I'm standing behind the cow. Just go straight. So how long do you think the cow is going to stay in the middle of the road? How long? For how long? He's going to stay in the middle of the road until he sees the first vegetable stand. Then he's going to go straight for the cabbage or whatever is out there. Because the animal instinct has no conscience. The animal instinct is totally possessed by his desires, his pleasure, or his pain. There's nothing to explain to him. Listen, but I don't own that. I don't own the vegetable thing, I own the bank maybe, but I don't own the vegetables. I own a building, but I don't own the vegetables. So I'm going to smack it, it's going to straighten out, and it's going to go to the middle of the road until when? The next vegetable stand. Because the animal instincts have no conscience. And if we just let our body go, our animal instincts are going to take full control of our body. Just to follow what's comfortable, what's easy, what's pleasurable, and that's it. That's why people lose control of themselves, because they surrender to their instincts. Pleasure has no compromise. If someone is in the mode of feeling pleasure, it's a total experience. So his pleasure takes over to him. So Hashem wants us to honor the Shabbos with pleasure. Hashem gives us experiences which He wants us to have pleasure. He created pleasure. But if it's just pleasure and no questions asked, it's like the cow. Is this a kosher pleasure? It's not a kosher pleasure. The society that we're living in is that we just want to feel good and feel happy, which is a good thing. But if it's just feeling pleasure or feeling good, and there's no right and wrong of what I should allow myself to feel good about, or what pleasure should I entertain, so then I'm just losing myself to pleasure, whatever brings me pleasure. Like you have some Parents will say about their children, whatever makes them happy. The philosophy of whatever makes him happy will lead that when he grows up, will he be faithful to the marriage? Whatever makes him happy. That's why infidelity is a big problem. Divorce is a very big problem. Because people are going not on what's right and what's wrong, they're allowing themselves to be controlled by instinct or habit. Smartphone is taking over life because it makes us comfortable, we're used to it, it's a curiosity, it's interesting, it's stimulating, and big studies are going on. Why are people so attached to smartphones? Are using the words addicted to smartphones, and they're explaining that the endorphins that go through a head when you're taking drugs or you're having pleasure is also happening when you're with your smartphone, because it's stimulating, because this is news and that's news, and there's opinion back and forth, and the little videos that's coming on, and this and that, and a joke and a story and a maisa. And we want constant stimulation, because constant stimulation makes us feel good, it's stimulating. Well, are we losing control? So what is he saying in Tanya? That one soul wants to have total control. And it has to be that way, because a living organism always grows and it does its thing. So the animal soul, it's part of our humanity. It wants pleasure, it wants stimulation. It doesn't worry about right and wrong. Right and wrong has to do with the godly soul. The godly soul is connected to Torah. Torah says this is kosher, this is not kosher, this is right, this is not right. It's telling us, well, this pleasure, this other pleasure, yeah, this pleasure, no, now yes, no, tomorrow no. There's a different type of control. But the animal soul wants to take complete control because it has no conscience, it has no sense of right and wrong. And the term is used, it wants that the body should be possessed by it. It's like the king who wants full control, government wants full control. Right? This is part of the debate going on in the world and in our country. How much control should government have over us? So that's an interesting discussion. But pleasure wants, the animal side of instinct wants total control because it's an instinct. An instinct doesn't reason. Pleasure doesn't reason. Power doesn't reason. People who want power, there's no limit to the power that they want. They want power. And that's why the term that he used, u'betelem etzel legamri u'merkova eleha. And merkava is a chariot. What is a chariot? It's like you have a car. Do you talk to your car and ask your car, where do you want to go? The car is just a tool, an instrument you have, which you take where you want to take. It has no will of its own. When you are addicted to your smartphone, you are the car of your smartphone, because your smartphone is in control. It's taking you for a ride. There's an English saying, yo, that guy's taking me for a ride. What does it mean, a guy's taking me for a ride? It's because he's now in control of you. You don't realize what you're doing. So you're the car and he's taking you for a ride. And the question we have to ask ourselves, are we allowing our animal instincts to take us for a ride? Are we allowing our habits to take us for a ride? Are we allowing our lust for power to take us for a ride? Our jealousies to take us for a ride? Our lust for pleasure take us for a ride? All of our instincts. That's the animal soul wants full control. Because it's not static. You can't stay in one place. You can't be stationary in life. Either you're going up or you're going down. Living organisms Always go up and down. Why is the stock market going up and down? Because people are buying and selling. The nature of people is, some people are rushing here, some people are rushing there. Some people, the same people are selling, some people are buying, different people. Where there's life, there's up and down. Sometimes it's intelligent decisions, sometimes it's fear and greed. So this is all the fight in ourselves, in our small little world, in our small city, in our body. There is the battle of the souls. Who's going to control our body? Now we go to the particulars. Our thinking, our speech, our action, our minds, our feelings. Because Tanya, Kabbalah teaches us, our feelings and our mind is also neutral. There's the godly soul, our conscience, want to influence and even control our mind, that our mind should come up with good ideas, and our feelings should be noble feelings, and our animal soul or even natural soul wants our feelings to be just instinct, and our mind should be only thoughts and understanding and selfish or our own interests. That's what our intelligence should be used for. That's the animal or natural soul. So the godly soul wants full control, and the animal soul wants full control. The godly soul wants full control so that the body should be an instrument for good. That the mind should be an instrument for good. The feeling should be an instrument for good. Our hands, our limbs, our whole organ, all being should be an instrument for good. And that's the fight and the battle that the godly soul wants. And then the animal soul and our instincts wants also full control. As I said before, we see it more how we can lose control to our animal instincts, because that happens more often and more easily than surrendering ourselves to the godly soul, surrendering ourselves to what's right and what's wrong. Now he's going into the details. As we said before, government is involved in everything. In ancient times, kings wanted to have full control. Today also, the government wants to know there's education, so government's involved in education. Government's involved in drugs. Government's involved in transportation. Government's involved in security. Government's involved in defense, taxation. Government is involved in the banks, involved in our businesses. Government has full control of every aspect of our life. And this is the United States. Can you imagine other countries where the government are dictators, the control they have over the lives of the citizens? So now the battle over the city, the battle over the body, it's all about the body. So you have two souls. And it's important to understand and appreciate this, that this is different than we often think of ourselves. We often think of ourselves when we look in the mirror and say, this is me, I'm just one person. I look in the mirror, I have me. And I sometimes think like this, I sometimes think like that. There's me, there's one person. And I have opinions, and I have a mind, and I have feelings, and so on. But Kabbalah dissects us and tells us that really you have two souls. And it's important to remember that and ask ourselves, when we do things or even think things, if the motivation is coming from a godly place or for a selfish place. And if we analyze this and be conscious of this, we'll become a better human being and certainly a better Yid. And as we said many times, the Alter Rebbe said the first mitzvah for a chassid is to be smart. Because in our mind and in our heart, we have so many dynamics playing a role that unless we're smart and analyze ourselves to see what is motivating us. Am I really tired? So I'm tired. So what's wrong with being tired? I'm tired. But then maybe I'm lazy. You have to ask yourself, is this coming from the godly soul? A human being is a flesh and blood. Of course, it's entitled to be tired. So therefore, I'm not helping my wife. Okay, here the earth. Is it because I'm tired, I didn't sleep enough, and I had a hard day? Or I'm just lazy? Or maybe I'm selfish? But I'm saying I'm tired, and I yawned. So, a chassid has to analyze. If you learn Tanya, you have to analyze. Where's this coming from? Is it coming from a healthy place? Or is it coming from a selfish place? Is it coming from the godly soul? Is it coming from the animal soul? And it's very complex, because each one of them wants to take full control of us. And this is what we have to become aware of and to think and to measure all the time. And that's what Tanya is about. And now he's going to get into specifics. There's the mind and there are feelings. So it's two worlds. There's intelligence, there's making calculations, thinking things through. And without Tanya, one would say, I make my decisions because I think things through. But sometimes thinking things through, it's your animal soul or natural soul or your selfishness is thinking things through, or your anger is thinking things through and you're 100% right and the other one is 100% wrong. And you'll give 4 reasons why you're 100% right and the other side is 100% wrong. So that's the question. So now he goes on how here he's starting with the godly soul. How the godly soul wants to have complete control of the person. And it starts with the mind. And there, as we learned in the earlier chapter in Tanya, that there are 3 in the mind, in the brain, there are 3 sections in the brain. And they represent the 3 stages of the development of ideas and understanding of ideas and the application of ideas. The Hainu Tlas Moicha Sheberoishi Mumolim Machabad Shebenef Shalikish Shi Chachmas Hashem Ubinasa Lisbonim Gdolasi Asher Ad Ein Cheker Vein Seif Olohayed Men Aidei Das Hayira. What is our mind full of? What is our brain? Our intelligence. What are our intelligence? What are we using our intelligence for? So the godly soul, when we say the body, we don't only mean the physical body and the physical pleasures. We also say our intelligence. What are we using our intelligence for? There was once a very smart and successful businessman who was by the Rebbe. And often business people would come to the Rebbe, ask him a business advice. And they would ask the Rebbe advice about what to do with this business. Should they invest in this? Should they invest in that? And they would ask the Rebbe for a blessing. And when he took some time of the Rebbe's time, consulting with the Rebbe about his business, it was a very successful business, and he discussing this with the Rebbe, get a blessing from the Rebbe for his business. So the Rebbe now turns to him and says to him, what is with studying Torah? You just went to yeshiva, you could study Gemara, you could study Tanya, you could study in depth the weekly Parsha, you can study in depth. What about that? So he says, Rebbe, I'm a plain Jew. I have no head for studying Torah. What do I know about studying Torah? Studying Gemara, Talmud, that's for scholars. So the Rebbe asks him, if I would ask your friends about if they think you're a smart businessman, what would they say? Oh, my friends think, he says, my friends think I'm a very smart businessman. I'm the sharpest businessman that they know. I'm so shrewd. You can't fool me. So the Rebbe said, that intelligence you have in running business, that's the intelligence you should use when you open a book, when you open a Gemara, when you open a Tanya, when you open a Chumash. You're intelligent. It's just you have this boxed in idea that my intelligence is for business or arguing about politics or figuring out what's a good investment. But if you have intelligence, Hashem gave us the Torah as intelligence. It's an intellectual study. He didn't have to. He could have just given us a list. These are the mitzvahs you have to do, this is what you can't do. And some of us, that's all religion is, what you could do, what you can't do. Because they're not studying deeply. And today, if you really want to have an intelligent understanding of Yiddishkeit, you have to study Torah. And you have to, like he says over here, use his intelligence to think about the greatness of Hashem. And there's a lot of philosophy about it, Hasidic philosophy about it, to understand how Hashem's powering the creation, and how the godly energy is in every molecule and atom, and that's what's vitalizing existence. And deeper in the atom, besides the atomic energy and the protons that are floating around inside, there's also godly energy that's giving vitality to every atom and molecule and every tablecloth and watch and our skin and everything that we have. And you can study about that. Or study even about the parsha. But that is what the godly soul wants. The godly soul wants that our brain should be possessed, not with this foolishness that possesses us, because it does possess us. The smartphone got into our brain, a bug, and it's controlling our brain. And that is what the godly soul wants. And from the brain it should come to the feelings. Hayira b'moichei, upachad Hashem b'libay, v'avas Hashem ke'eish, boyara b'libay, kirish be'eish, kirish be'shal heves. What are our feelings? You have feelings. Feelings define a person. Our feelings, what are our feelings? What are the feelings that we have tell us about ourselves? So we have basic feelings as love and fear. What do we love? What are we excited about? What are our passions? What are we feeling? What do we move? What moves us? So what possesses our feelings? Some people's feelings are possessed by a good novel. Is a good novel so good? Why is it a good novel? They call it a good novel. It's a bestseller. It's all nonsense fiction. It's all Baba Mises. Or a good movie. So we watch a plot unfold in front of us, and we feel happy, and we're excited. What's going to happen with that person? The person doesn't exist. The movie is playing with our feelings. It doesn't exist. And we can cry when we see a movie, or we read a book. Oh, poor person. That's terrible. It never happened. And then we're exciting. There's an action scene going on. Is the guy going to escape? He's not going to escape. He's going to get him. We're not going to get him. We're all excited. It's fake. Fake news, fake feelings, fake excitement, fake passion. We're being possessed by Hollywood. It takes over our feelings. Think about it. It takes over our feelings. The previous Rebbe said about novels, he said novels, it don't, metamtem esalev. He says it takes hold of our feelings and makes it dull. Because it's all fake. It's fake tragedy, fake happiness, it's fake. And they're saying this about the smartphones too. You know, a couple is on a date and they're looking at their smartphones. They should text to each other, at least they'll communicate.
Is it true? I see it in the store.
Right? Huh?
I see it in the store.
Yeah, because they're there. So it's all fake. We're living fake. So what's with feelings? What are our feelings? Where are our feelings? Feelings. I'm happy. What are you happy about? I'm happy because in the novel, the good guy won. But that's all fake. There's no good guys. It's an imagination of whoever wrote Harry Potter or other fake stories. So this is what it's about. Our godly soul wants us to have feelings that are real. Now he describes love of Hashem. Avos Hashem keish be'ah b'liba k'dish be'shalav. It's like a fire. What's our passion? It's for Hashem. The godly soul wants to be our passion and our love to connect with Hashem. That it should be with our whole heart and our whole soul and all our might. Now, of course, this is a very high level. And as I said in the beginning, we can relate to being possessed by our instincts, because more often than not we are. And the godly soul wants that our feelings, that our physical feelings, sensation of feelings that in the heart should be for godliness. But even if you're not on that level of actually feeling a passion for godliness, but you have to remember, it's not only about feeling the spiritual, it's also feeling what Hashem wants us to feel. Because like it says in the Shulchan Aruch, that whatever you do, if you have a mind to do it, to serve Hashem, then it's a holy feeling. So you had a bad day, and you need some entertainment to loosen up. So then afterwards, you're going to be able to daven with a clear mind, or learn, or just be pleasant to your wife and your kids, or your husband and kids. So therefore, you have to have some kind of entertainment. So you're doing that for a good purpose. That could also be made holy. And your godly soul is going to say, you're brooding and you're miserable. Before you go into your house and you see your family, you got to lighten up, listen to a few good jokes. So you're doing it for the mitzvah. So you can make a mitzvah out of music and out of art and out of entertainment. And like we learned in an earlier chapter in Tanya, that Rava, before he would start teaching the students, would say a joke. Why would he say a joke? Because he wanted them to get into a better mood. So when they would study heavy Talmud, Gemara, which is intellectual acrobatics of Jewish law, they would first he got their attention, and he got them in a good mood, and now they're ready to study. So he said a joke. Rava wasn't a comedian. And joking, people who are just jokers are light-headed fools. And some people who are jokers, their whole life is a joke. They're always joking. And people who are jokers and their life is a joke are not faithful husbands or wives, are not good fathers or mothers, and they're not good workers because it's a joke. Life is a joke. So joking around, and if your life is a joke, is not a good thing. The Gemara says, elates someone who's a joker and mocks everything and makes fun of everything and makes fun of everything is a joke. This is a sin. But there's a time to joke. And Rava said he would say a joke when he would start his class in Gemara because he used that as an instrument for mitzvah. So we have to ask about our feelings. The ultimate is he describes feelings of loving Hashem with a fire and with a passion. So that's what the godly soul wants. And the animal soul wants to take over our feelings, to have feelings of instinct and of taking over ourselves with jealousies, with lust, with laziness, all the faults in feelings. And that's the struggle over feelings. And this is a question we always have to ask ourselves. And with this we're going to stop here and to have this in mind as we go home. We are an instrument. Our life is an instrument. Our body is an instrument. Whatever we do with our body, we have to ask ourselves. Whatever thoughts we have, what speech we have, our ideas. Am I being an instrument for good in this world, or am I being an instrument for selfishness and negativity? And it's our choice. Here we have a choice. Are we allowing ourselves to be taken over by negative ideas, selfish ideas, or even instincts that are base and maybe even low and vulgar? Or are we allowing ourselves to be part of something big? Torah wants from us, become bigger than you are. Become part of something that's bigger. Those are the values that we were taught. Make yourselves great again. It starts with yourself. And each one of us has in himself greatness. And our godly soul is saying, make yourself great by being an instrument for great ideas, for great feelings, for growth. And that was Tanya wants and the Torah wants for us. The Torah is the guide of life, which the Tanya is telling us is, you just have to think about becoming part of something bigger than us and an instrument for good and for holiness in our life. Good night.